Welcome into the latest episode of Betting the Pitch, the European Soccer Edition. We are 24-9, our best bet, 73% year to date. Still have a couple outstanding from the midweek action, but thanks for all the support, especially all the extra support that came in on pregame.com. I appreciate that. I do put my soccer picks out there every day, also on patreon.com/real_G Warner. Very different avenues and ways to get everything, but the nice part about the Patreon subscription is you get all the other sports combined into that same subscription. So check it out, patreon.com/the_Real_G Warner. We're going to go through each of the top 5 European soccer leagues. Got to remember to tweet this out so people know I'm live. Happy Friday night. It's not 2 a.m., so we're already improved on a couple Saturdays ago or Fridays ago, I guess, depending on what hour of the day or the next day it's been recorded. We're going to go through the top 5 European soccer leagues: English Premier League, Spanish La Liga, Italian Serie A, German Bundesliga, and the Ligue 1 in France. And we will come out with some winners. So let's get into it. And those of you that are with me live right now, you can throw a comment in there. I have the comments available. If you're not listening live on Betting the Pitch on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, please leave a 5-star review if you're there. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the Real_G Warner. And you might want to check out the Instagram as well if you want the 1 minute ultimate best bet video, which is where that 24-9, 73% record comes from. So without further ado, let's get into the English Premier League. We'll start with no early match. Thank gosh for sleeping in. Just kidding. Not allowed in the soccer world, but at least if you live in the United States. But Bournemouth currently a quarter goal favorite right now at home with all the juice to Nottingham Forest. Totals 2.5, juice all the way to over. Probably the two biggest overachievers in the English Premier League, at least from a lower budget, smaller club type of point of view. I hope I didn't, I guess, diss anybody by saying that. Not my intention. But I think if you're a fan of Bournemouth or a fan of Nottingham Forest, you're very impressed with how the season has gone. What does that leave us, or where does that leave us today? Bournemouth jockeying between a half a goal favorite and a quarter goal favorite does make me think that there's a little bit too much respect on Bournemouth. We haven't seen them a favorite very often, and this is a different situation for Bournemouth as a favorite because they are not going to be sitting to counterattack. Or if they are, that means they're giving Nottingham Forest the ball, who's one of the lower possession teams in all of the English Premier League. Things have gone very well for Nottingham Forest so far this season, and I think really it's probably going to be a very popular side to see everyone on Nottingham Forest, but I think there's good reason for it. I'm pretty interested in under 2.5 as well, because I do think this is a battle of two teams that don't want the ball, and that usually means the zone or the line of confrontation is usually not near the nets, and that's important for fewer chances and things of that nature. Bournemouth, I mean, their valuation's got to be pretty high coming off a win on the road at Newcastle last weekend that pretty much no one else has been able to do in the Premier League this season. And Nottingham Forest, they smashed the worst Premier League team since the last worst Premier League team from a year ago or 2 years ago or whatever. So I think there's a lot of respect in Bournemouth, and I'd like to see them handle it, though it does not feel good for me to potentially go against Bournemouth, who have made me so much money this season. We'll move next to Brighton hosting Everton. Currently, Brighton three-quarter goal favorites at home with more juice. Almost all of it totals 2.5, and its juice is actually split right now, -108, which is probably the best juice you can get out there. BetOnline, Sportsbetting.ag are offering it. They're my partners, and if you want a 50% deposit bonus, go click on the links in the podcast description, Apple Podcasts, or on Spotify, or just slide in my DMs at the Real_G Warner across any social media platform, and I'll walk you through it. Might even send you a personal link directly. Everton, they scored some goals last weekend, but it was against Tottenham Hotspur. Everyone does that. Even TSG Hoffenheim from the German Bundesliga and Europa League this week. Brighton on the other side, they're great at drawing games, had a big win at Manchester United, but were certainly got to the promised land or got the 2 goal advantage, saw some daylight because Andre Onana is really, really bad at being a goalkeeper, as is everything at Manchester United. And I don't blame Ruben Amorim for saying that his team is like the worst Manchester United he's ever seen because he probably hasn't seen many. But in terms of where this number is going to go, I think Everton or David Moyes are still going to be very conservative. Maybe not to the same level as Sean Dyche, but honestly, Dyche was more aggressive, I think, than Dyche at Burnley, for example. The big question is going away from home. Can you trust Everton to score goals? I can't do that yet. So that pretty much makes the three-quarter of a goal underdog away from home not appetizing. Maybe is a full goal of insurance, but even then, it's still scary because 1-0 often leads to 2-0 before it leads to 1-1. I'll lean under 2.5 as my biggest interest in Everton at Brighton. We'll move next to Liverpool hosting Ipswich. Currently, Liverpool 2.5 goal favorites with all the juice. Total is 4, juiced all the way to under. Ipswich was my best bet last week. Unfortunately, that was a brutal loss, but it wasn't as brutal as the stoppage time goals that had cost me the last two best bet losers on this podcast, which had gone back a pretty long distance. But unfortunately, the stoppage time goals have been not very few and far between. They're very often and brutal and make me want to throw my computer off a bridge. But at this point, I think Ipswich are, I mean, I still think they're a good defense. Especially when they put all their mind into it. They went on the road to Arsenal and basically shut down shop the entire match. They couldn't do that despite playing five. I didn't see if I guess I could look Ipswich Town. I want to see if Ipswich has played if they played the same defensive structure as against Manchester City as they did against Arsenal because they played five at the back and looks like they did a similar thing against Arsenal, but were somehow able to keep an Arsenal side that were playing a lot better than Manchester City, who've been basically taking leads and losing them, or not taking leads at all and losing games. So I'm kind of puzzled by the difference in performance there. But with that said, now going on the road to Liverpool, going to Anfield is going to be a really tough thing. The nice part is Liverpool had a home match, though was at home and don't have to travel, but did have a home match with Lille, have been really good in Champions League. And for that reason, I think the 4 is just gigantic. It's really nice to push that number. I don't know that I've had much success. I don't really play unders that high because usually it's two teams that either don't want to defend or in this case, one that clearly does. And I feel like Ipswich Town coming off of a 6-0 loss, their worst of Premier League history, that's going to be a really good scenario for them to potentially defend. So I think that works out pretty well. Fading Liverpool, who are really a possession control-based team, not the crazy side that they were under Jurgen Klopp. I think it's going to be hard for Liverpool to win 5-0, and I think it's going to be hard for Ipswich to score. So under 4 is a big interest for me, though it's very juiced at the moment. Moving next to Southampton, Newcastle, still in the same early window on Saturday, the 25th of January. We have Southampton a 1.25 goal underdog at home to Newcastle with all the juice totals 3.25, juice all the way to over. Probably see some money coming in against the worst team in the current Premier League. So Newcastle probably moves to a 1.5 goal favorite away. Total probably moves to 3.5. I've played so many Southampton unders this year, and honestly, the giving away goals is something that has really killed my profitability and has made a lot of really good bets lose at the end or push or something like that. Two best bet losers ago before this most recent one, I had Southampton under 3 goals. They conceded twice in stoppage time. And then whatever they let Amad Diallo score 3 goals in a 12-minute span with a lead from 1-0 to 3-1. And that also killed it under 3 on the road at Manchester United, which was horrible. I mean, we've seen it happen before with lower ranked teams, but against this Manchester United squad, it's unbelievable. The problem is Newcastle, I mean, they've been so hot. Alexander Isak has been so good, and they came off a really bad, embarrassing, you could even say, loss at Bournemouth. I think at this point, there's little faith in Southampton. I mean, you almost got to expect them to give a goal away, so that makes their 1.25 goals at home feel more like a quarter of a goal. But they do play really well at home traditionally or in history. This team is the worst it's been. They're not as ridiculous as they were under their previous manager. And Ivan Juric is an under guy and has been really profitable for me over his career. For that reason, I'm still interested in under 3.25 in this one. I don't think I can play the side because ultimately a 3-0 Newcastle victory away from home would be a really good showing for them and would still cover the under. And at this point, might even win a full bet if this moves to 3.5. Last match in the early window, we have Wolverhampton Wanderers, a 1.25 goal underdog with all the juice at home to Arsenal, probably +1 across a lot of the marketplace. And they are also, the total in this one is 2.75, juice more to the under. Arsenal are tough for me to gauge right now. They had an incredible under streak going that then kind of died in flames really quickly. I don't necessarily know. By the way, thanks to all of you watching live. If you got any comments, feel free, throw them in here, and I will read off what I get as soon as I get them. I just think Arsenal, they are so much better than Wolves. Wolverhampton Wanderers just don't have any center backs. But clearly the club just went broke all of a sudden. I think until we get a three here, I don't think I want much to do with Wolves, even though they're at home and we'll have a big crowd support. I think that crowd support probably helps them to try to score on Arsenal more so than defend because we know Wolves have had so much trouble with that so far this season. To the last match on Saturday, and then we got four more leagues to go, so stick around. Manchester City currently a quarter goal favorite at home to Chelsea. Totals 3.5, juice a little bit more to under. Almost all the juice on Man City right now, climbing to a potential half of a goal. Chelsea off because the conference play couldn't fill enough teams or something like that and already finished their play. I'm trying to be against Man City as long as possible. We'll certainly love a half of a goal underdog as we will win on a draw there and won't need Chelsea to win for a full unit. But at this point, I think Chelsea are inferior to Manchester City, but they don't have the issues that Man City do and are on a rest advantage for a team that's higher in the table or at least are fighting for Champions League, just like Man City are, way behind the title. And I think that's where I'm going to be. No real interest in the total. We've seen Manchester City give up a ton of leads. They clearly can score a ton, and so can Chelsea. So I think we might see a high scoring game. A lot of times when the two big teams come up against each other, there's less goals than you'd expect. But I think the Chelsea side is what I want there. Moving to Sunday with Crystal Palace hosting Brentford. Currently Crystal Palace, a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice. Totals 2 3/4. Juice is split both ways. I don't know how Brentford react to basically coming back from the dead from 2-0 down to draw on Manchester City and win a bet, and then from goalless against Liverpool to concede two goals to none other than Darwin Nunez, who's probably the least on form attacker in all of the English Premier League, maybe all of the world at this point. I don't watch all of the world soccer. He's incredible for Uruguay, but not for Liverpool. But won two or scored two goals to win a match. Totally got a yellow card for taking his shirt off, and then got a yellow card for or red for stomping on Nathan Collins' foot. But the ref just let that go. Don't get me started on refereeing decisions, but here we are. It's not even 11 p.m. here, local time in Dallas, Texas. Regardless, I think Brentford will respond. The problem is they're so bad away from home. They've had one win that was against Southampton, surprise, surprise, with a bunch of goals in stoppage time. Crystal Palace are improving and are starting to look a lot like that team that finished the season as well as they did last year, but then started this one so slowly. I don't think you can blame that all on Mikel Olise moving to Bayern Munchen, but at this point, Crystal Palace are the better team. I don't really trust the Brentford defense, so I might have nothing on that earliest match. And actually, there's another one in this window. Another one, Tottenham, a goal and a quarter favorite to Leicester City right now. Currently, more juice on Leicester. Total is 3.5. Juice very heavily to over, and that's a lot because Tottenham have no defense. Or at least even if their healthiest defenders are, or if their best defenders are healthy, which is also not the case. The problem for Leicester City is they're really bad. They're a recently promoted side. Don't get confused that they have a big name because they won the English Premier League years ago. They are already on their second manager. No idea if Ruud van Nistelrooy has any clue what he's doing. I would argue that he doesn't, especially coming in from that Erik ten Hag staff, though it seemed like he was forced in there. I don't know. Manchester United is hilarious, but we haven't got to them yet. Tottenham is a favorite. I mean, they were basically holding on for dear life on the road as a slight favorite at TSG Hoffenheim in Germany, who had been playing the worst football besides Tottenham and probably all of the top five European soccer leagues I cover. Man, but Tottenham got a win. They were really fortunate. A handball was ignored, and Tottenham went and scored on the other end. So instead of 1-1, it became 2-0 Tottenham, and they rode their luck. The problem is they've been really struggling in the Premier League. I do believe that competition set you free, but really poor performance in the Premier League doesn't always see much of an uptick after a Europa League win or something like that. For that reason, I don't know that I want to play under here. I think I'm more interested in Leicester getting a goal and a quarter, but it is a scary one if you want to back the Foxes on the road in North London. Two more matches to go on Sunday. Of Aston Villa, one goal favored West Ham United, totals 2 3/4, juiced all the way to over. Aston Villa with a predictable no-show away from home in Champions League. That was a nice win for your boy on Monaco, and hopefully all of you that followed as well at the @real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. Definitely get the Patreon picks at the @real_G Warner on that platform. It's a lot cheaper also than other alternatives, so go check that out. West Ham, they are in a transition phase with Graham Potter coming in. He looked really good at Brighton, but so has everyone, and has looked horrible everywhere else. I don't trust it. Going to Aston Villa is going to be a really tough thing, but the nice part is West Ham United. They do have some talent, and they do have a rest advantage because they didn't play midweek. So that all helps. I think my biggest interest right now is under 2 and 3/4 goals, rather than taking the full goal of insurance on West Ham. And I think that's where I'll stay right now. Would love to get three. We don't have that yet. Last but not least, in English Premier League for this episode, we have Fulham, a quarter goal favorite right now at home to Manchester United. Wow, have the mighty have fallen. Totals 2 and 3/4, just all the way to under. I've been backing Manchester United unders. I mean, hilarious that they somehow stole a win in stoppage time. Got a goalie to former Manchester United goalie at that goalkeeper to punch the ball in his own net on a corner kick, an outswinger, unbelievable. And then conceded a goal in the 88th minute. Harry Maguire pushed off the ball like the small bloke that he is. Um, couldn't get his slab head in the way, I guess. And then, I mean, Fulham have not been playing well, but to see them as a quarter goal favorite, I'm not interested in Manchester United. They do have a much bigger name and much better talent, at least from a budget perspective. But with Anthony moving on to Real Betis, there's clearly some problems at the club, to say the least. Man, I guess I lean to under 2 and 3/4 if I got to make something on this one. And I guess I lean to Manchester United getting a quarter of a goal, but man, I really don't. I hope on Sunday afternoon here in the United States that I'm really dialed in to Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles and have nothing to do with this matchup. So for the ultimate best bet portion of the show, I nominate one of my favorites from each of the leagues. It's now time to do that in the English Premier League. I think on Saturday, my favorite. I mean, there's a lot to choose from. And oh, man, I just picked Ipswich last week to lose 6-0. That was brutal. So I'm going to go with Chelsea, quarter goal underdog on the road at Manchester City. Certainly some big names in that one. I don't really love going to the biggest of the biggest, but honestly, those are usually the lowest scoring matches of all. And sometimes it's better to have an underdog in those than even the under. Moving now to Spain, we go to La Liga for Saturday's earliest matchup that I'm looking at currently. Mallorca home to Real Betis. Currently, Mallorca quarter goal favorite there on the island with more juice. Total is 2, more juice to the over. Pretty low total considering how poor Mallorca have been. They did play Real Madrid really tight in the Supercopa de España in Saudi Arabia, because that's where every Spanish Super Cup should be played. LOL. Real Betis to me are interesting. They've been really struggling, got blasted by Barcelona, have not really been playing well to start the year, but neither have Mallorca. And Betis are a bigger underdog than I thought they'd be, so I'll put them on my list at a quarter of a goal. At 2, it's a low total, and I don't really know what to do with Mallorca is certainly going to play a defensive game, which I think also makes that quarter of a goal underdog even more valuable. But man, I just don't really think Real Betis plays for a 2-goal total very often because they've been getting more healthy in their attack. And that's probably my biggest interest in that matchup. Moving next, Atletico Madrid hosting Villarreal. Currently, Atleti, a 3/4 goal favorite at home with slightly more juice. Total is 3, just all the way to the under. Villarreal were able to keep a clean sheet because they scored 4 goals in, I think, the quickest span in La Liga history in their Monday match, while Atletico Madrid played Champions League midweek and hosted Bayer Leverkusen. So you could argue that the legs are certainly much more tired for Atleti. Villarreal have been scoring a ton of goals. For that reason, I'm not an over player, especially not with Atletico Madrid, who can score goals, but certainly can also kill a game like the best of them. I think Villarreal is my biggest interest, but not until I get a full goal of insurance. We don't have that yet at the time of recording. Moving next to Sevilla, hosting Espanyol. Currently, Sevilla, 3/4 goal favorite at home with more juice on Espanyol. Total is 2 1/4, juice slightly more, or juice more to the under. Sevilla, every over they have seems like it's lucky. They scored a late goal to send it over with Girona in the early slot last weekend. I think it's perfect timing for another low-scoring matchup, and Espanyol will certainly want to do that as they are a small club, newly promoted back to Spanish La Liga, trying to stay in the league. I'm going to go with my biggest interest in this one. I do like Espanyol, but I want the full goal. We don't have that. So I'll go Espanyol under 2 1/4 goals. My biggest interest in that matchup. To the nightcap, Real Valladolid hosting Real Madrid. Currently Valladolid, a 1 3/4 goal underdog with almost all the juice on Real Madrid. Totals 3 1/4, juice almost all the way to over. Real Valladolid, they are really tough to trust, and they fell into the bottom slot after Valencia's win over Real Sociedad last weekend to almost close out the match. They closed out Sunday. Valladolid are in big trouble. They installed or brought in the former Mexico manager, Diego Coca. He's really good at not scoring goals, at least couldn't do it with Mexico, and Valladolid are certainly not a team to do much of that. The nice part, the best place to get Real Madrid is when they're away from home, especially coming off Champions League. But man, under is the only thing I could do here. Maybe if Valladolid climbed to a two-goal underdog, but still, that's still a scary one. So I'll go Valladolid under 3.25 with my best bet in that matchup. Moving to Sunday, Rayo Vallecano hosting Girona. Currently, Rayo a pick'em with more juice. Totals 2.25. Juiced more to the under. Rayo, I think, have turned the new year and are starting to play a lot better. Girona I mean, they went in Champions League midweek, had a tough match on the road at AC Milan, if I remember correctly. And they are getting healthier, but they're still struggling to live up to expectations of last season, they'll never reach. Totals 2.25 in this one, so I'm interested in a low scoring matchup. I lean to Rayo, especially on better rest. And I think I'm not going to say they're a better team because they don't have as much talent or the payroll, but at home, Rayo are really tough to beat. So I do like that pick 'em. Would love to see this juice flip and Girona move to a favorite, but I can see why that might not happen. Lean to under 2.25 as well in that matchup. Real Sociedad then hosts Getafe. Currently, Real Sociedad a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice on Getafe right now. Totals 1.75, juice more to the over. Real Sociedad had a Thursday matchup on the road at Lazio in Rome. That's a tough. And for those of you coming in, if you got any comments, feel free to throw them in, and I will blast them up here or show them on the screen if they are relevant. I'm sure they will be. So whatever you put, even if you want to comment on Biggie Ben's hair, you can certainly do that. Um, but Real Sociedad, I mean, they're going to possess the ball. Getafe are going to do everything they can to keep this a low scoring match. I don't trust Getafe to score. Biggest interest is to the under, but I don't play less than two. So until we get there, I will not play. Which was sad with Valencia winning 1-0 of Real Sociedad last weekend, but total never got to two, so it wasn't on my radar screen. Moving next, Athletic Club Bilbao, the hated Basque Derby rival of Real Sociedad. They are hosting Leganés, coming off probably the biggest upset in at least this season, maybe in Leganés history. Leganés. They are a goal and a quarter on the road at San Mamés, trying to come up with something to follow up that win at home against against Atletico Madrid. Now they get Athletic Club Bilbao. Totals 2.5, juice all the way to under. Leganes has got to be the interesting side. Athletic Club played in Istanbul midweek, I believe, but they did play, I think, Wednesday, so that puts them in a better rest position, certainly better than Real Sociedad playing the game before them. But Leganes, they're big underdogs. I feel like Athletic Club have been inconsistent as of late, had a good start to the year, were disappointing in the Supercopa de España played in Saudi Arabia. Were not very good, got eliminated from the Copa del Rey. And I gotta say, I feel like as a big underdog right now, like a nice are worth it, certainly confident, but I do worry how much they celebrate after a somehow shocking win over Atletico Madrid. Though certainly the marketplace knew that was going to be a low scoring game, made that total really small. But I don't think there was a lot of respect for Leganés in the market, and maybe there's a little bit more now after that huge win that might have upset the apple cart and put Real Madrid back on target to win the league this season. Terms of total, lean to under 2.5, but I'm less interested in that. I think that's the game that Leganés want to play. I think Athletic Club want the opposite. We'll see what Leganés look like, especially with an injury to Renato Tapia, if I remember correctly from last week. To the Sunday nightcap, we have Barcelona hosting Valencia. Currently, Barca a 2-goal favorite with all the juice. Total is 3.5, and juice is split both ways. This is a really tough matchup for Valencia, following up a emotional win, an important win to get off the bottom in La Liga, still in the relegation places, and have a long way to go. But now they have to play one of the best teams. The nice part is to get Barcelona in their half stadium, whatever they call it, Montilivi or Montjuic. Montilivi, I think, is Girona in Catalonia anyway. But man, I don't know where to go this one. Barca did play midweek and had a crazy match, so maybe that helps Valencia's leg advantage even more. I'll put Valencia getting a 2-goal. Man, that's a gigantic number. Barcelona, it's so hard. You really got to hold your nose for playing Valencia and under, but I guess those are my interest in that matchup. Sorry, scratchy throat. I think the norovirus is gone in America, but apparently the flu is not. Last but not least, in Spain, before we move to Italy, and of course get a best bet to get out of Spain as quickly as possible with as few referee decisions made as we can. Alaves currently a pick'em at home to Celta de Vigo on Monday. All the juice on Alaves totals 2.25, juice more to the under. Alaves, I mean, with a big win at Real Betis last week, with Kike Garcia, their striker, just flopping like a fish every chance he could, and penalties after penalties after penalties were earned and scored. I think he had a hat trick, unbelievable. But Spanish refs, I mean, they're not giving penaltitos, and then they are. Like it's unbelievable. They just have no idea what they're doing, and I can't wait till Spanish soccer is under new rules, new administration. But who knows when that'll happen with Tebas or whatever his name is. I'm interested in Celta Vigo if they move to a quarter goal underdog. Don't have that yet. And I guess I'm interested in under 2.25, especially as long as they don't have Iago Aspas. But Celta unders have not been great to me so far this season. So that's a light lean at best. For my best bet on this week's Spanish La Liga episode and card, I'm gonna go with that Espanyol Sevilla under 2.25 goals on Saturday as my best bet in that matchup. Now we'll move to Serie A. We've gone. If you need to go back in time, you probably can if you're on YouTube at the real underscore G Warner. If you're watching live and you can't, don't worry. There will all be replays of this on Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Those two platforms under Betting the Pitch and at the real underscore G Warner on YouTube. And then we'll do end of show and ultimate best bet, which is 24-9 year to date. And that will show up on Instagram and on YouTube as well. We'll start in Italy. Early match, Como hosting Atalanta. Currently, Como half a goal underdog at home. More juice on Atalanta away. Totals 2.75, juice all the way to under. I don't have much I want to do with Como. I don't think they're a good team, but the market has loved them all season. Atalanta coming off Champions League was not great, but they played in the early window against a really bad team, so that all helps. I don't think I have anything on this matchup. We'll move next to Napoli hosting Juventus, a huge battle for the Scudetto, or at least for Champions League places. Currently, Napoli quarter goal favorite at home with more juice on Juve. Total is 2, just almost all the way to over. Juve have seen more goals in their matches. I still don't trust them to score much. Napoli are going to grind this game out, and especially with Napoli rest advantage from not playing midweek while Juventus had to travel to Club Bruges in Belgium. This points to Napoli. I feel like they look cheap to me, but that's seemingly for good reason. I feel like cheap Serie A underdogs are usually where you want to look. I'll lean to under 2 in this matchup and expect a low-scoring game or match. Last on Saturday, we have Empoli and Bologna. Currently, Empoli half a goal underdog at home with all the juice. Total is 2.25, juice all the way to under. Bologna coming off a home match with Borussia Dortmund, needing to get some sort of positive momentum in Champions League as that competition is almost wrapping up and they're on the outside looking in for the knockouts. Now they go to lowly Empoli, who have no youth products, just simply loan players from the other leagues across Italy and stay up every year. Got off to a great start, then really hit a lull and then scored a ton of goals unexpectedly. I think I'm mostly interested in the side, Empoli getting a half of a goal, but also some interest at under 2.25, though I don't want to lose that to 2. Moving to Sunday, Milan hosting Parma. Currently, Milan, a 1.75 goal favorite with all the juice on Parma. Total is 3.25, just more to the over. I think there's still a lot to be figured out with Milan and their new manager, Conceição, formerly of Porto, a very defensive manager. Hasn't looked so defensive so far, but maybe that is trying to move the Milan side from all-out attack under Paulo Fonseca to Conceição. Big favorites, though. Parma are one of those sides that believe in themselves, believe in their style and their strategy. They're not changed for anybody. In some cases, that doesn't work. If you're Tottenham trying to win the Premier League, but Parma just trying to stay in the league, you're trying to get 3 points wherever you can. And I don't hate the strategy. I think I like Parma getting a goal in 3 quarters. That feels too big to me. Would love to get 2. It doesn't look like the juice is pointing that direction, though. As for the total, under 3.25, I think I mean, above 3, I'm always interested in an under. So I'll put that on the list, though it's certainly 2 teams that could certainly get into some sort of shootout, and that's probably one I will skip. Moving next to Udinese hosting Roma. Currently, Udinese, a quarter goal underdog at home with slightly more juice. Totals 2.25, juice all the way to over. Roma have been getting some lines like they can score goals lately. I still don't know that I trust that. And Udinese didn't play midweek while Roma had Europa League at AZ Alkmaar in the Netherlands. I like Udinese at home. I like the idea of fading Roma, and I like fading that offense. So under 2.25 also plays in that direction. Moving next to Lecce, hosting Inter Milan. Currently, Lecce, goal and a half underdog at home with all the juice. Totals 2.75, all the juice to over. Inter are really tough to fade. I think they're the best team in Italy, maybe the best team in Europe. Honestly, when you they don't score as much as everyone else, but their defense is great. I think they suffocate Lecce, who have no offense whatsoever. And the Lecce defense, it probably will have a better time than most against Inter because they're so defense heavy. They have to be, even though they're not very good at it. I think the low scoring Lecce match might see 3-0 Inter, though. So I don't think I want much to do with the total here. Moving to Sunday nightcap, Lazio hosting Fiorentina. Currently, Lazio a half a goal favorite at home. All the juice on Fiorentina. Total is 2.5 and juiced all the way to under. I think there's still some value here in Fiorentina. They've been really inconsistent. Got whistled off last week, I think, in a goalless draw or maybe a 1-1 draw because they conceded a goal to a 10-man Torino. Lazio coming off a big match with Real Sociedad in the Europa League. Fiorentina were off of Conference League, so very interested in that half of a goal, though I've certainly made a lot of money on Lazio so far this season. I don't love now switching to the other side, but I think there's some value in Fiorentina getting that half of a goal. Moving to Monday, Venezia hosting Verona. Currently, Venezia, quarter goal favorite at home with more juice. Totals 2.25, just all the way to over. Two teams certainly mired in a relegation fight. Verona with just got sold to some American investors, but that just ask Hertha Berlin how that worked out as they're struggling in this Liga in Bundesliga 2 right now after their 777 partners came in because they're, I guess, angel numbers or God people or whatever. I think at this point, I don't expect a lot of goals in this matchup. And I think we see a grinder here. Maybe this gets to 2.5, but for now, I'll lean to under 2.25. Last but not least, we have Genoa hosting Monza. Currently, Genoa quarter goal favorites at home with more juice. Total is 2 and juiced all the way to over. Monza are not as bad as they once were, but still don't trust them. And I think they're going to struggle to stay in the league this year as they have already. Genoa on the other side, I mean, they've been doing really well defensively, and they have a big crowd fan base behind them. For that reason, I think my only interest really here is under 2. It's a very low total for a reason, but it's a very low total. For my best bet in Serie A, I'm going to go with that Napoli Juventus under 2 goals in the earliest, well, I guess second earliest game on the Serie A card. 3 leagues down, 2 left to go. Thank you that are with us live. If you want to throw a comment in here, I have the bar open if you want to do it. Just order a drink and I will go over whatever you'd like. We'll go to Saturday. Monaco hosting Rennes in France. Currently, Monaco 3/4 goal favorites at home with more juice. Totals 2.75, juice more to the under. Rennes have Jorge Sampaoli. He's a manager that I bet against. And so it's really tough. I would love to see Rennes getting a full goal of insurance. Until that number hits, I don't think I'm playing. Monaco coming off a really good performance, early goal, and then held on for dear life to it against Aston Villa, but deserved, I thought. They are not the best home team because they don't have any crowd in the Principality. Suppose it's a really big stadium and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm going to stop making excuses for Monaco and wait till Rennes hits a full goal of insurance. Next, go to Strasbourg, hosting Lille, one of the darlings of the Champions League. Strasbourg currently quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Total is 2.5, juice more to the over. Strasbourg, a young team trying to learn how to play. I don't think Lille is the team you want to try things out against. They do benefit from Lille playing at Liverpool midweek. So for that reason, I'm interested in Strasbourg and that quarter of a goal underdog at home. The big crowd usually, but that hasn't stopped them from making huge mistakes there either. I think it's the Strasbourg side, and it's a very juiced quarter right now. So I'm not sure I want too much to do with that as we speak. Moving to Saturday evening, PSG, a 2-goal favorite to Reims, all the juice on the Champagne region club, which I struggle to pronounce. 3.25 is the juice to over is the total here. And that's probably expected, though. PSG maybe a little bit of a letdown spot coming off of Manchester City at home. Now they got just some champagne makers coming in. Maybe something happens there. I think my biggest interest here is Stade de Reims under 2 or getting 2 goals of insurance. But man, I haven't had great success against PSG with big underdogs. Moving to Sunday, Le Havre hosting Stade Brestois. Currently, Le Havre a quarter goal underdog at home with more juice. Totals 2.25, and it's juiced all the way to under. Stade Brestois coming off their trip to Germany in that neutral site that's considered a home match for Shakhtar Donetsk in Champions League. Now they are a road favorite. That doesn't add up very well. The Le Havre have been horrible. I think Le Havre are really the side I want here as a home underdog, but I think under 2.25 is the bigger interest here. Brest have been pretty deep and have been very successful playing a bunch of players, but we'll see how long that lasts, especially as they start to have to prioritize one Champions League run or a Ligue 1 finish. To the big window of Sunday matches, Nantes hosting Lyon. Currently, Nantes half a goal underdog at home with all the juice. Total is 2.75, just all the way to under. Nantes is an interesting situation considering that they are starting the forever Lyon goalkeeper now after contract or whatever issues, behavioral issues with their French number three, I would say, which is then also changed into other situations. Nantes is a home underdog are of interest, especially because Lyon played on the road in Europa League midweek and went very attacking with their lineup. I think that plays very well into Nantes' hands, and I lean to under 2 3/4, so I think I like the side better. Lens then hosts Angers. I'm not wearing an Angers kit, though some of you might think that because it looks very similar. We'll get to that in a second. But Lens, a goal and a quarter favorite at home. Almost all the juice on Angers away. Total is 2 3/4, just pretty heavily to under, the same -118 to the under there as the side. Angers have been playing really well. The problem is they're going to a really tough place to play. Lens are great. But I do like getting more than a goal of insurance. So I like that 1 1/4, and I think I like the under 2 3/4. Though Angers have been scoring a lot more than probably that under 2 3/4 could take. It would be a good way though if Lens win 2-0 to potentially ensure and escape just juicing out. But I certainly have seen that go really well and really poorly before. So who knows? Uh, Last of this early, I guess, middle window on Sunday, Toulouse hosting Montpellier. Currently, Toulouse a 1 goal favorite. All the juice on Montpellier away. Totals 2 3/4, just more to the over. Toulouse have been playing well. Montpellier are fighting like heck to try to get out of their. I think there was a banner in the crowd that said, "You are disgusting," or "This is the worst we've ever seen the club. Thank you for ruining it." All this sort of stuff. Montpellier were bottom of Ligue 1 in France. I think they still are. But a full goal insurance for a team that's fighting is very interesting. And Toulouse are not really treated as this big of a favorite very often. So I'm interested in Montpellier getting that full goal. It's very juiced at the moment, though. And I think that's all I want in this one. Last but not least, we have an Olympique derby. I don't think it's Le Classique because that's Marseille uh, and PSG. I don't think it's whatever it's called. That's not worth me figuring it out live. Nice, a quarter goal underdog at home to Marseille. This is definitely a Côte d'Ivoire derby, maybe. Currently Nice, 2 3/4 goals is the total, juice to the over. I like Nice as a home underdog. The problem is that they played midweek in Europa League and Marseille are off, and Marseille are better. So it makes sense they're a favorite, but I don't really trust them. And they've been great away from home. That's another problem for this as well. Um, as my voice is drying out, of course, because I talked to myself for 37 minutes already. I mean, home underdogs are really just that's my game. So it's hard for me to resist that. But certainly there are a lot of pause. I want to see what the Nice lineup looks like on the nightcap on Sunday. For the ultimate best bet on this portion of the show, I'm going to go with Stade de Reims getting 2 goals of insurance from PSG. And I actually have to note that differently so I know it's not the total because that's a big, big number. Now I'll move to the German Bundesliga as I'm wearing my Sport Club Freiburg shirt, or Tricot as they call it. Though Freiburg have been horrible lately and have a big test this weekend. They are the club I follow closest in all of the European soccer leagues, but I don't know if I consider myself a fan. Ish. I do like a FIFA 20 career mode on there and broadcast how bad I am at FIFA every once in a while because I haven't been playing the game because I've been so behind and trying to catch up. We'll start with Augsburg hosting Heidenheim on Saturday, and we got Augsburg half a goal favorite with more juice, totals 2.5, juice more to the under. Augsburg going to the break, getting smashed by Holstein Kiel, probably the worst team in the Bundesliga, and then they just win every match. It's kind of amazing, but Heidenheim are unlucky. They get Augsburg playing well. The nice part is that Heidenheim are getting a team that's probably overconfident at the moment and believes they're going to win, and I don't trust them to score many goals, so that certainly works in Heidenheim as a half-goal underdog's favor. But I think under 2.5 is my base interest in that matchup. And I also think that Heidenheim, their really slow defense, I don't think Augsburg really has the players. They're going to test them with their press, but man, I mean, Claude Maurice and Ascende, he's more of a big guy, and Rex Bajai is like just a midfield hog. I don't. Augsburg, it's amazing that they've been winning road games, especially because they don't ever do that. But I'll lean to under 2.5 in that matchup. Moving next to RB Leipzig hosting Bayer Leverkusen. Currently, Leipzig a half-a-goal underdog at home with more juice. Total is 3. Juices split both ways. Leipzig coming off a huge win in Champions League. Just kidding, they're already eliminated, but at least they got a win after losing 6 straight. Huge for my pool standings, I guess, but I'm way off the pot. I think, in that one. I do like getting half of a goal at home. Leipzig are much better there. I do think that there is potential for big goal scoring in this matchup. Leverkusen have been very, very conservative with leads lately. The problem is that if they have a lead lately or late in the game, Leipzig getting a half of a goal will not probably be enough because they're going to have to pierce through the Leverkusen defense that's really focused on not conceding late. And that was their big problem, and it's got them 4 points off the lead in the Bundesliga for that reason. The push on 3 is nice on a total, but I think we could see fireworks in this one. Leipzig did win at Leverkusen earlier this season in a comeback. Another reason Leverkusen are not leading the Bundesliga, but that's quietly a lot closer of a race than anyone thought it would be. So we'll see what happens there. But I lean to Leipzig getting a half of a goal at home. Should have all their players available after the multiple red cards. Unbelievable to close out a Stuttgart match 2 match days ago. Moving next to Sport Club Freiburg as I wear the kit. And can you see the Schwarzwald milk, the Black Forest milk? Anyway, I do like the local German advertising that they put on the kits. Freiburg 1 3/4 goal underdogs at home to Bayern Munchen. All the juice on Freiburg. Totals 3 1/4, juice all the way to over. Uh, Freiburg have been getting massacred lately, usually away, but I don't really trust their home results, so I want nothing to do with this one. They don't do well against big clubs. They did beat Bayern Munchen knocked them out of the DFB Pokal a couple of years ago, and then covered, I think, on the road at Bayern Munchen in the same week, twice in Bavaria, back to back. Amazing. But man, there's a lot of problems. Freiburg are really missing Christian Streich, and looks like a bad year for them. Moving next to Mainz 05 hosting VfB Stuttgart. Currently, Mainz a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Totals 2 3/4, just more to the under. Mainz got their manager suspended from the touchline last weekend. Things didn't go great. I guess we're at 42 minutes and I'm running out of vocal steam. But the nice part for the Mainz 05 intensity is that Stuttgart had to play Champions League midweek. It was against a really weak team. I don't even remember who it was. I think Slovan Bratislava. I think it might have been away. That all works for a trip to Mainz, who are going to beat the crap out of you. And if Mainz don't make some ridiculous mistakes like they did early against Union Berlin in a very bad to lose match for a team that's trying to fight for Europe, which probably makes sense because Mainz shouldn't be there. But based on how poorly the rest of the Bundesliga are playing, hey, could happen. I think Stuttgart are going to go in and try to possess the ball, and because that's what they do. I think that probably means that Mainz, who've been scoring a ton of goals away from home more so than at home, that's a big question. But they have a Bayern Munchen pelt at home from a win earlier this year. I like the home underdog. I do. I think the rest situation helps. I do wonder about the status of Jonathan Burkhardt, their captain, the former German under-21 World Cup captain, all those sort of things. I think they won the World Cup then. Amazing he's still at Mainz, but I'm sure that move's going to happen sometime soon. But Stuttgart are great. They're very deep, but they've been kind of meandering and kind of teetering with lineups, tinkering with lineups, you could say. It hasn't been as dominant of a year for Stuttgart whatsoever. They are making a climb lately, but as a road favorite, I'll lean to the underdog, and I'll lean to under 2 3/4. I think still a lot for me to think about in that one, though. Next, to go to the last in this early window, Borussia Dortmund hosting Werder Bremen. Currently, Dortmund a 1 goal favorite at home with more juice. Totals 3 1/4, juice more to the under. I see no reason to get off the fade. Borussia Dortmund train. Gladbach, excuse me, that's the next match. Werder Bremen have been really bad the last few matches. Conceded late to give up a victory and draw with Heidenheim, and then lost at home to Augsburg. Amazing, but I think it's a good buy low opportunity. It is tough to see them as a 1 goal underdog on the road at Dortmund, but they do have some recent good success with Dortmund coming back from a deficit to win, I think, all in stoppage time a couple of seasons ago. And I just want anything I can be to be against Borussia Dortmund, especially giving a full goal of insurance. At home, Dortmund are better, but I lean to Bremen there, getting a full goal of insurance. To the top spiel, Saturday evening game in Germany. We have Borussia Mönchengladbach hosting VfL Bochum. Currently, Gladbach 3/4 goal favorite at home with more juice. Total is 3, just pretty heavily to under. Bochum have been really good at home, but they've been horrible away for years and years and years. And you could say the same about Borussia Mönchengladbach. But this match is in the Cologne area. It's at home in Die Follens, whatever stadion, and it's going to be played in between München and Gladbach. For that reason, I don't think I want much to do with the Bolcom side. I think I could only look to the total, and I'll lean to under 3, but that is a scary situation because Gladbach do score at home and Bolcom don't defend anywhere, especially not away. Though they did have a huge comeback from 3-0 down at halftime to Red Leipzig last week. On to Sunday, TSG Hoffenheim, quarter goal underdog at home to Eintracht Frankfurt. Juice is split both ways. Total is 2 3/4, and it is juiced to over. Hoffenheim, I backed them in Europa League midweek. Deserve better, got screwed by calls, but also are horrible. Stanley Nzoki, their center back that they bought in from Belgium, is a terrible center back and should not play another second. But maybe they don't have other options, or the rest of their options are horrible also. That team is going nowhere, and I don't want anything to do with the home underdog. I don't really know what to do because I don't like road favorites, so skip that part. And for the total, I don't know. I don't trust Hoffenheim to score. I guess I do trust Eintracht Frankfurt to break through their defense. But I do think the adjustment that we've seen with Omar Mouche leaving for Manchester City, like that's going to impact the Eintracht Frankfurt scoring offense at some point. I think they're still better than Borussia Dortmund at home, especially. But that line was a gimme. Thank you, odds makers and everyone, for backing and thinking that Eintracht Frankfurt couldn't win without Marmouche. Hilarious, but that's one of the things you get from listening to the Betting the Pitch podcast and following along here. Though I guess that was probably a lot easier for the Patreon subscribers, patreon.com/real_G Warner to get, to be fair. Last but not least, I'll skip that game entirely. We'll go to St. Pauli hosting Union Berlin. Pauli a pick 'em right now with all the juice totals, 2 1/4, just really heavily to under. I don't believe that Union are going to score here. It's really hard to believe that St. Pauli will score at home. It's hard to believe they'll score anywhere. Got a penalty and eventually got a win last weekend, I believe, on the road at Heidenheim. I just can't trust either of these teams to score. So under 2 1/4 works really well. It's a tiny, tiny total in the German Bundesliga, but it's two of the lowest scorers. And we know St. Pauli will work. And I think I'm honestly more interested in the pick'em on the home team as a favored pick'em that I am, even if Union moved to a quarter goal underdog. That probably make me skip it. But the under 2 1/4 is still good. As for a best bet in the German Bundesliga, on Saturday, I'm going to go with Werder Bremen, a 1 goal underdog on the road at Dortmund. Yes, it's scary, but I do scary things from time to time, and not really, but I guess occasionally. And I got to say, I do think that is an attractive side. That's where I want to be. I want to be against Dortmund until everyone is fired and everyone is sold, and that hasn't happened from what I've seen. So now you've made it to the entire 48 minutes. We've gone through each of the top 5 European soccer leagues. And we're going to get to the ultimate best bet, which is 24-9, 73% so far this season, with a couple pending, but I'll grade those as I watch them. Other things to plug: the college basketball podcast, The Need for Seeds, which we do have some merch out. It's not within grabbing distance for me, though, so sorry for Big East Ben. If you want a shirt, please hit him up at Big East Ben. We did an early recording so he could get to the mountains and probably learn how to ski or snowboard on the bunny hill. But that is out and available on Pregame Now, or wherever you get your pregame podcasts. In terms of the NFL podcast with A_Snicker, that's been out since Wednesday, and we are planning to do a Super Bowl episode with potentially a props episode as well. If you like that, leave a 5-star review and tell us you want a props episode, and we will probably make it happen. But maybe not if you don't give a 5-star review, because that's actually a huge research ranking that gets us more listeners and all that sort of stuff. If you're not a member of my Patreon, please check it out, patreon.com/real_G Warner. It's where all my plays will be. It's where I'm going to go right after this podcast is done, get some write-ups done for soccer overnight, and then go give an idea of where I'm going for the college basketball slate tomorrow, which is gigantic because everyone's afraid of the NFL on Sunday. Also, another place you can get NFL picks, patreon.com/real_G Warner. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for those of you that hung out this whole show. I don't see any comments in here, but want to thank new Patreon subscriber Steven Subak. Appreciate where I'm guessing that seems like a Czechia name. So not Chechen, sorry, Czechia, Czech Republic, at least with the AK. It seems that way. Maybe Slovakian. That's another possibility. But Steven Subak, welcome to the squad. I appreciate that. And the support is huge. If you have any questions or don't want to get shouted out, sorry it happened. If you want to get shouted out more, it's probably going to happen next week too. So if you want to If you don't want that, make sure you say something. But thank you, Steven. And of course, all the other Patreon subscribers, including my guy, Kevin Welsh, who loves to rip me apart when I'm struggling. But he's also good at keeping my records. I'm doing my best to try to do that as much as I can and catch up. But he's always on. He's always got it. So if you're looking to see how I'm doing, Kevin Welch, that's the guy to check out. I think it's time for the ultimate best bet. So let's get into it. Just make sure I have my record placed. Oh, we do. Okay, we're good. Hey, this is real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the ultimate best bet for the January 25th episode. I'm 24-9, 73% so far this season. I basically pick my favorite pick from each of the leagues I cover, smash them all together, give you my best one, and then we get out of here with a winner. From the English Premier League, I like Chelsea, a quarter goal underdog. In La Liga in Spain, I like Espanyol under 2.25. In Serie A in Italy, Juventus under 2 goals. In Ligue 1 in France, I like Stade de Reims, a 2-goal underdog at PSG. And the German Bundesliga, I like Werder Bremen, a 1-goal underdog. For this, all the write-ups, all you could ask for when I lock things in, download the app, patreon.com/real_G Warner. My best bet on this episode, 24-9, 73% year to date, will be the Werder Bremen 1-goal underdog on the road at Borussia Dortmund. Not afraid of the yellow wall. I'm not afraid, been in it before. Not afraid of anything at this Borussia Dortmund club. Werder Bremen have been playing poorly, but they're better than this, and I think they go play a really tight game, maybe even win at Dortmund. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great evening. I'm going to get to work on the basketball and soccer cards. Check them out at patreon.com/the_real_G Warner.